911music.com. This is the No Need for a Name podcast. This is number 9. Typically, we're about 100% more Mexican, and today we are pretty Caucasian. Mex is on assignment. We're going to put it as assignment rather than a vacation in Texas, where he went and saw Five Finger Death Punch and Avatar. And we'll talk about the whole Five Finger Death Punch deal in just a little bit here. But rest assured, he did see them, and that was after the little mini meltdown that may have happened. Once again, we are at the Sporting Life Bar, 7770 South Jones Boulevard. That's on Robindale and Jones, right on the corner. And they're nice enough to give us a great big table and furnish us with some wonderful food and drink. They also have a special that goes on from 5 to 7 every Sunday, thanks to us and them, mostly them. But I call it the Volume 11 special. It's $2 PBRs, and I'm enjoying a couple right now. Sitting across from me right now, where she might not get a whole lot of, vocal, in during this kind of strange podcast, is somebody I brought in from, it must have been like 5 or 6 different flights, 6 or 7 different car rides. I had to pull a lot of strings, but my wife Brandy is here with me, and she's my biggest fan, my only fan. But I really want to thank her. She's not feeling great today, so again, I mean, if I need somebody to riff off of, she is ready to go, hopefully. But again, I just want to go back and talk about the Sporting Life Bar where we're at right now. Happy hour, Monday through Friday, 4 to 6. Some great deals. If you want to watch a big game, this is the place to come. They have dart tournaments, and nobody's ever been hurt as far as I know. They also have some really great gourmet food. So it's not just straight up bar food like you might be used to. This is some good food here. So anyways, like I said, Big Mex is in Texas, and he went and saw Five Finger Death Punch and Avatar this weekend. He's actually coming back really soon, but he gave me a little bit of a report from the road, and I'm sure we'll hear some more next week. But it was a great show. He touched base with Chris Cale, of course, after the show. We didn't get any exclusive interviews or anything like that, but all is good. I'm sure you've seen the Ivan's statement after the little Memphis meltdown. Hey, it happens to everybody. Nobody's perfect. They had some sound problems, and Ivan's a hothead, and that's okay. We all are. And I know a couple people I think were let go, sound people, but that's okay. That's the way it works sometimes. Everything's good to go again. New album coming out this fall. Everything's back on track. Speaking of Big Mex, we're going to talk about him because we miss him, kind of. But we call this the No Need for a Name podcast. But I think I'm just going to rename it Jamie, just Jamie. That's all. We don't need Mex. We gave it a name. He is, in a couple weeks, going to be at the River City Rock Fest in San Antonio. The likes of Linkin Park, Volbeat, Papa Roach, a ton of other bands are going to be there. He invited me. I can't go because I have a real job that doesn't let me go anywhere on holiday weekends, but I'm going to be there in spirit. He's already gotten ahead of the game by doing a couple interviews already with Drowning Pool and Crowbot, and he has a whole bunch more lined up and ready to go. Bran, would you like to go to Texas to see a show at some point?
I definitely would.
Yeah. Have you ever been to Texas?
No.
It's not like I just met you or anything, but, these are those things we find out across from each other doing a podcast at a bar.
No, I'd love to go to Texas. I think it'd be a lot of fun.
You wanted to move there briefly, didn't you?
I did.
Didn't you have like a 2-week little dalliance with wanting to move to Texas all of a sudden?
I did. I wanted to move to Austin. I have no idea why. I don't know where it came from.
I call it moving Tourette's. It's like you can't control yourself. You're just like, I want to move here, I want to move there. And then all of a sudden you're like, what the fuck was I thinking about that? I love it here.
Pretty much.
Really?
Yeah. That's
okay. Because we're in Vegas right now. I don't know if we ever really mentioned that often. We tell you all these things that we do and want to go and where we're recording at, but we never say Las Vegas. So yeah, we're in Las Vegas right now. Okay, moving on to some stuff. Again, without Mex here, he's usually interrupting me right about now, and then I can kind of catch my breath and see what I'm going to say. But
you don't need to worry about that with me.
That's true. But you did. You just interjected right there, and it gave me a little time to rest.
Yeah, I had to pretend I was at home interrupting everything you said.
Ooh, I like that. Yeah. I like that. So, I also came up with something since I'm just coming up with ideas as I talk here. In Vegas, we have this news channel. I've never actually watched this newscast, but it's called Wake Up with the Wagners. And it's a husband and wife team doing the news. Well, we're going to call this the Fuck Off with the Hudsons podcast.
I like
it. I thought you would like that. And, you got Wake Up with the Wagners and Fuck Off with the Hudsons. So thank you so much. I'm going to move move on to some just covering some subjects, some news, some things like that. Again, we just talked about the 5-finger death punch situation. Everything is good. Trust me. We know people, and they'll break legs if you say different. So everything's good. If any of you remember last week's edition of the No Need for a Name podcast, it was kind of broken up into two pieces. Mex has had an experience with a kind of an industry vet who has moved on to shilling bootlegged items out of his garage in Wisconsin, Green Bay. And Mex decided, hey, you know what? This guy seems cool. I'm going to go ahead and give him $30 to give me some posters in time for the WizardCon that was here in Vegas about a week ago. Well, the guy never delivered, and then when that happened, he never wanted to give the guy Mex his money back. So that started kind of a bit of a war. To give you an update, this gentleman, Tom Hazart, he has now decided to cash in on Big Mex's threats, and he's now making a T-shirt and just all sorts of bullshit. And listening to this guy on Facebook, I've kind of stayed out of this, but I just have to laugh. I mean, this guy has made this all about how much of a victim he is, and just, it's ridiculous. I've read the emails. You've read the emails and the text. They're on the net through Hazard and through Big Mex, and I'm sorry, buddy, but you were wrong. You were the guy who was providing a service. You fucked up and didn't send it. You don't have any money to give somebody. It doesn't matter if it's $30. You're making this big deal that it's only $30. I don't give a shit if it's $3. You owe him money. You didn't do your service. So anyways, that's an ongoing thing. So I'm sure we're going to be talking more about that next week when Big Mex is here. And hopefully we'll one day score an interview with Mr. Hazard. That would be fantastic. And we can squash this thing in the audio world. Next up, I want to talk about Refused. Some of you may or may not know who the Refused are. You can call them Refused or The Refused. They were a band that kind of started the whole metalcore, post-hardcore sound about 17, 18, 19 years ago, almost probably 20 years ago with The Shape of Punk to Come. And that was a seminal album. They're a Swedish band. They broke up right afterwards. It was probably one of the most groundbreaking albums in the metal hard rock genre ever. And they broke up. Well, there's been little side projects, little get-togethers, things like that, but never anything really concrete since then. Well, guess what? They have a brand new album coming out. After about 17 years, this will be the first output from Refused. New track is out right now. It's called Electra. It's very different. It's not as, I always say schizophrenic, no offense to anybody, but it's not as crazy as some of the tracks that we've heard before from them. And also, lead singer Dennis, his vocals have really mellowed out over the years. It almost sounds like Foo Fighters mixed with old Refused. And that's a good thing in my book. I think it's going to get a lot more new fans and also please the old fans at the same time. Bran, have you ever heard of Refused, other than me talking about it?
Oh, I was just about to say that. No. Other than you, I've never heard of them.
Okay. They're a pretty cool band. I'll play them on the way home. How's that sound? Wait. You drove. Never mind. I don't know what I'm talking about. Moving right along. Again, this is kind of a news segment because, again, I'm just kind of going down things I want to talk about. So basically, there's a band out there, and I'm sure all of you metalheads and rock fans love them. They're called Mumford Sons. I know you love them. You got to love them. They got banjo and, hipster beards and the whole nine yards. They've been really popular. We don't necessarily dive into their style of music. Well, I just at least want to talk about one thing. They completely changed their sound. They have been one of the biggest bands in the world for probably the last 4 years with kind of that earthy, folky sound. Well, they've gone full on, I guess you can call it like more Coldplay-style rock. U2, Coldplay, arena-style rock.
Which I don't like Coldplay, but I did like the song I heard this morning.
Yeah, so I actually played it for Brandy, and I was like, who do you think this is? And this Mex is going to love this because I keep trying to sneak this band into everything I talk about. There's a band that I love, and you hopefully have heard me talk about them in the past. They're called the Maine, and I love the Maine. I can't talk enough good things about them. Well, the first thing Brandy said while we were listening to this new Mumford song that I didn't tell her what it was, she goes, is this the Maine? And believe it or not, it sounds just like the Maine. It's kind of like a folk, not folk, kind of Americana rock. So it's hard rock, but it has a little bit more of a gritty feel to it, just straight up rock and roll, and that's the sound they've gone for. But it's amazing how much they sound like the Maine. So I want you to all kind of know that if somebody says, oh, I love the new Mumford song, say, oh, that sounds just like the Maine, and you'll be really cool in my book. So again, we probably will never talk about Mumford & Sons ever again, so just kind of keep that in mind. Moving right along. let's move into the world of movies. We always talk about the lifestyle of rock and roll here, and to me that encompasses movies, music, comics, tattoos, cool stuff to wear, all that stuff. As you know, we're big nerds here, and Brandy's not.
I'm not.
See, she got in there before I could even say anything. It's a guy thing. I think it is, for the most part. But, we talk about Star Wars almost every week. Well, I'm going to talk about it this week, and I feel bad that Mex isn't here to talk about it. But the guy who was going to direct the second anthology spin-off film for the new Star Wars series, Josh Trank, you may remember his name from the movie Chronicle, which was like a cool found footage superhero movie that kind of broke the mold, and he really got a lot of attention. Well, ever since then, he was kind of a weird guy. People always said, well, he's kind of a weirdo, but, a lot of cool filmmakers are. He is making the new Fantastic Four movie, and there's been a little bit of issue whether or not that movie is going to be a huge success or going to kind of crash and burn. There's been a lot of reshoots recently. Well, it turns out that Josh Trank was let go / fired / resigned from this Star Wars movie due to his behavior in the making of Fantastic Four. Just really bizarre, insular behavior where he would lock himself up and not want to talk to anybody, and just really weird stuff. I mean, there was even a strange story that came out that he had like dozens and dozens of small dogs in the house that he was renting while making the movie, and they did like $200,000 worth of damage or something, and he's kind of like a Howard Hughes weirdo from the sounds of it, but he's a young guy. So anyways, he lost his job, so anybody who's interested in making a Star Wars movie, you could probably sign up on StarWars.com and find out what's up with that. But I'm interested to see what's going to happen with this Fantastic Four movie. The previews look kind of cool, but again, it could be a great success or just totally crash and burn. Here's the next thing. Brandy will actually be interested in this for one reason alone. Suicide Squad movie. The one reason alone for her is Jared Leto.
And Scott Eastwood.
Oh, and Scott Eastwood. This is a new discovery for Brand, I think. Again, she was always into Clint Eastwood, but now that he's a little long in the tooth, she decided to go for the younger Eastwood.
That is not true.
That's not true?
That is not true.
Never Clint Eastwood?
Never.
Okay. Alrighty. Well, I guess I could be wrong. But, okay, so this Scott Eastwood guy, I honestly have no clue what he's been in. Can you tell me? Other than magazines?
No, he's in that new movie that just came out with Britt Robertson.
Oh God!
He's a cowboy.
He's a cowboy, and it's one of those crying movies, like The
Notebook.
Like The Notebook.
I will never watch it.
Yeah, so it's one of those movies. But so that kind of tells you what why girls like him. Anyways, Suicide Squad. There's been leakage happening with that movie, and the first one was Jared Leto's Joker. We talked about that in depth. That it's kind of a really different thing that's they're doing with that. Well, this week, photos of Will Smith leaked onto the nets. And he is playing Deadshot, for those of you who didn't know that. The picture that first showed up was a picture of him on set, dressed like a pimp, basically. He was all leather, and he had like kind of a bushy beard and this and that. Totally, completely not what Deadshot would look like. Not sure what they're doing with this. I have no problem with them switching, if a guy was black, now he's white. If he was white, now he's black. I have no problem with that. But I don't understand where they're going with the look of this. Again, it's Will Smith, so you never know what you're going to get. He's in desperate need of a hit after a lot of kind of crash and burns lately. But so on top of that, this other leak happened, and it was a picture of what was thought to be the Deadshot costume on set. It was ridiculous. It didn't look anything like Deadshot, but because it was leaked the same day as the Will Smith, as the uncostumed Deadshot, people thought it was, including me, who posted it on Volume 11's Facebook. Sorry about that. But I corrected it on there. But it was actually a fan in cosplay that was hanging out at the set and actually got busted for breaking into the set. But it was kind of funny. But so we don't know at all what the Deadshot costume will look like for the movie. Hopefully it'll be cool, because that's a cool character. If anybody watches it would be Arrow. The character of Deadshot's been shown on there, and he was a cool character on there. So anyways, moving on. I just talked about it. Arrow versus Flash. Which one is the best? Both shows have done extremely well on the TV. I believe it's CW that they're on, and probably revolutionized the TV shows that station shows right now. Really quality shows. I can't use the word shows too many more times. I got distracted, and now I'm saying shows. Okay, now I got back on track.
The word shows.
I can't say shows? Okay. Anyways, those are my favorite shows. I know Mex watches those shows as well. But they're nearing their season finales. And actually, Brandy, my lovely wife sitting across from me, she started watching Arrow about a year ago. She watched a few episodes. She actually liked it. So for those of you who may be like, oh, I'm not going to watch a comic book show or movie, it's a little bit more than that. What say you, Brandy?
Oh, I was going to say, yeah, I started watching it and then stopped it and forgot to watch it again. So,
which is common in
My
the Hudson
bad.
household. Brandy will start a show, says, oh my God, I love this show, and then watch 3 episodes and then start something else because Honey Boo Boo came back on. No offense.
Stop.
No.
Stop it right now.
No offense.
That is not true.
Okay, well, we can edit that out, right? But anyways, both those shows are hitting their season finales here in the next couple weeks, so I'm sure we're going to talk about what happens. But man, every single episode of those shows have been a mindfuck. I'm not familiar with the Arrow or Flash story, so it's really refreshing for me to find out all these cool things, especially with the Flash and all this time travel. It's crazy, the stuff you're finding out. And then Arrow right now is turning bad. It's not going to stick, but, I don't know. How long is he going to be bad? Are they going to do it right into the end of the season? But anyways, I'm pretty excited. I think next week Mex and I will get deep when it comes to Arrow and Flash. Finally, before we play some music, something kind of personal to me. I've been a fan of a band called Ash. Ash is a band. They're a Irish band, and they've been around since probably 1992, right in there, 91. And they had some kind of well-known hits in the U.S. way back then. There was a movie called Angus that was out in the early 90s that was kind of a sleeper hit, and they had a song called Jack Names the Planet. And they also had a song called, I want to say Kung Fu, and it had some Jackie Chan samples in it and things like that. Anyways, they've been around for a long, long time. They have lots of albums. They were one of the first bands to ever pioneer the pay what you will to get their songs out of their record contract. So they dropped their record contract and put out about 50 songs in a subscription service, and I was a part of that. And it was one of the first bands to ever do that, but they never got much recognition for it. So anyways, I got a response from their PR person that the band is interested in talking to volume11music.com, maybe doing an interview, letting us feature some of their new music that's coming out. So I'm really excited. So when you have a band that you've been a fan of for just a long, long time, it's really cool to actually get some response from them. So it shows us we're doing something right here. Alrighty. So anyways, let's go into some music. This is a band that was a Vegas band. Now, this is the first band that I probably can remember hearing here in Vegas when I moved here about 7 years ago. We went and saw them at a place called Feel Goods, which is now Vamped, and they were called St. Rose. Now, St. Rose turned into a lot of different things. They were around for only a couple years, but they came out of a band called The Stripped. And The Stripped changed their name to St. Rose more or less because there was a popular crappy band called The Script all over the radio, and everybody got confused, blah, blah, blah. So anyways, this band, let me name some of the members here. You had Mikey Lorenzo. He was the vocalist. He recently did some work with Max Green from Escape the Fate on some projects. He also worked with American Monster, which is a band that a lot of us know here. His brother Brian Lorenzo on drums. He also worked with American Monster and also First Class Trash for a while. John Wozniak, he plays in a local group that does a lot of big shows they're called Impulse, and I'm sure you've seen them either on Fremont Street or some of the big casinos. He's been playing with them for a while now, and he's a great bassist. Now, the other two guys, the two guitarists in the band, you may know some of the projects they went into. Frank Sidoris, he went into the Cab originally. They were based in Vegas at the time. And now he plays with Slash in the Conspirators. So he has gone quite a ways from his time here in Vegas. The other guitarist, Rob Zakarian, he is in Adelita's Way now. So two of these guys really went into huge bands. The other guys have been incredibly busy, and I know they're going to be around for a long time and lots of exciting projects. But this is a song called Out of Time. This was off their one and only 3-song EP, and I want you to enjoy it. Thank you so much. This is Jamie and Brandy filling in for Big Mex. This is volume11music.com. No Need for a Name podcast.
makes you stitches. Now you're bleeding through. It's a long, long way down from where you stand. No one can save you. Not a helping hand. Count it down. Who's laughing now? 3, 2, 1, go. Whoa, here we go. Better run, better play, better hide. Whoa, lock and load. Pull the trigger, let it go. Say goodbye to you because I live wrong. I won't be taken by anyone. Whoa, all you want is a half-man who never was a man. My brother, you gotta take. You tried to put me under. You'll never bury me. So count it down. Count it down. 3, 2, 1, go. Here we go. Better run, better play, better hide. Whoa, lock and load. Pull the trigger, let it go. Say goodbye to you because I live wrong. I won't be taken by anyone. Whoa, all you want is a half-man who never was a man. My brother, you're out of time. You're out of time. You're out of time. Yeah.
Volume11magazine.com. No need for a no need for a name podcast. My name is Jamie. I'm here at the Sporting Life Bar on Jones and Robindale. I really invite all of you to come down here and check it out. We're going to be here pretty much every Sunday from 5 to 7. That's in the PM. And we have a PBR special during our time up here. And it's $2 for PBRs. I really think you should come down. And we will even let you talk if you have something cool to say. Even if you don't, because you've already listened this far. And you obviously know that I don't have anything cool to say. But, we want you to come down, check it out. We want to have like dozens and dozens of people here so that the Sporting Life Bar wants us back and actually enjoys us being here rather than wonder who the hell are those people up there with a weird headphone on talking into a microphone. I bet you they're not even recording. What you just heard there was a band out of Vegas, a defunct band, if you will, called St. Rose. One of my favorite bands still, one of the first bands that Brandy and I ever stumbled across when we hit Vegas. Brandy, do you remember your first St. Rose experience?
Oh, I definitely do.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, I can't imitate the way Mikey sings, but I remember they came out and me and you just looked at each other and said, "What the fuck? This is amazing."
Yeah, and we were coming out of Alaska where there was the what the fuck was, why is there 3 moose crossing the road? So, seeing a really, really cool local band was just so awesome, and it really cemented the reason why we moved here.
And we got to know them all really well, and they are the coolest group of guys. They're so nice.
Yeah, to this day, we are still very close with everybody in that band, and it's really cool, to really to know that you have lasting friendships. And now all these guys are moving on to bigger and better things. But the one thing I always remember watching that band up on stage was Mikey's butt crack.
Oh, God, always.
Again, not in a weird way, but obviously I just said that, so it is kind of weird. But Mikey used to pretty much strip on stage, but he was the quintessential frontman. I think a lot of us who, if you're listening and you're from Vegas, I think you know Mikey Lorenzo, and you know his antics. He's a great guy, and awesome frontman. So again, I just wanted to let everybody hear St. Rose once again.
I still listen to them. They're actually on my iPod at the gym.
Well, there you go.
Yep.
See, lasting impression by St. Rose. Volume11.com is about music, first and foremost. Again, I told you that we cover everything from the rock and roll lifestyle, whether that be tattoos, whether that be cool haircuts. No, that's not part of our thing. But we talk about bands. There's a couple bands I want to talk about. It's something I've been adding to the podcast now, and this is the second week. We do play a couple bands. We get permission to play those bands, and they're bands that you may have not heard before. They're not giant bands that are playing giant festivals. These are bands that we want to help out. They might not need our help. It's okay, but when I hear them and I'm like, oh my God, everybody I know needs to hear this band, That's why I want to play them. These are a couple bands here that I don't quite have the permission to play them yet, but I at least want to make mention because I want you to go buy their stuff. There's a band out of Buffalo, New York called The Traditional. The Traditional is a kind of a, I call it, if you remember, Soul Asylum meets The Replacements meets Kill Creek. Anybody who just said, oh my God, he said Kill Creek, you rock in my book, and you need to buy this. Traditional just put out an album called How to Live Without Blood. And it's just awesome rock music. This is my little thing. Mex always makes fun of me for describing music. This is what I wrote down. I want you to all hear it. Soaked in raw emotion, huge riffs, passionate vocals from Anthony Musior. That's their lead vocalist. So check out The Traditional when you get a chance. Also, I want to make mention of a band called Baby Chaos. This is kind of a weird one because Baby Chaos has not made an album in 17 years. They were a band out of Glasgow, and they were making waves back 17 years ago, playing alongside, Manic Street Preachers, Ash, Feeder, all those bands, the UK bands that were coming up at that time. They took 17 years off, just a little break, but they stayed friends. So they just put out a brand new album, awkwardly called Skulls, 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 Show Me the Glory. Weird title, awesome album. I really think you should check it out. It's on Spotify, so that's a good way to check it out if you want to buy it. You probably have to go to an import shop or order it online, but check it out on Spotify. It's really, really cool. Okay, so going back to Brandy and I, since she is filling in for Big Mex, I can talk about some things that normally Big Mex and I probably wouldn't really talk about. And that's pretty much just our day. Now, we're not going to bore you with details. We're going to try to make it at least somewhat entertaining, but we'll see how we do here. We went out this morning for breakfast, and there was something I realized while we were driving around, and that was every fucking breakfast place in Vegas is packed at all times. Now, I don't remember this in my formative years or any other time of all these places that are open from like 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. or 8 a.m. to noon that are just breakfast places. That's the only time they're ever open. So you have 5,000 people waiting to get into these places every single morning. They're great places. That's why people wait for it. But I don't get it. What is this culture that you have to wait 2 hours to get eggs? We went to this place this morning and we walked away because it was about an hour wait. We weren't going to wait an hour for eggs. But, Brand, what do you think? I mean, would you wait an hour for eggs, or is it just too much?
No, I would not wait an hour for eggs. Can you hear me?
I can now.
Okay, so I would not wait an hour for eggs, but I did hear that Stacks and Yolks is now open till 9. So they must have...
Till 9 p.m.?
Yeah.
So they figured out that people do eat breakfast other than 8 a.m. to noon?
No, these places aren't 8 a.m. to noon. They're usually till 2 or 3. They're breakfast and lunch places. So, but they do still close early, but I think Stacks and Yolks caught on that they are so wildly popular that they could benefit from staying open later.
Yeah, I kind of wondered if it's more of a Vegas thing or if it's something that's moved on all over the place. But breakfast is big business. I mean, we went to Denny's instead today, and that place was packed too. So say what you will. I also mentioned that the Stacks and Yolks over here in the Summerlin area, you may or may not get a glimpse of a former Real World cast
Challenge.
member.
No, the Challenge.
The Challenge cast member. And what was his name? Brandon. Okay, so yeah, if you see Brandon, say, hey man, don't I recognize you from somewhere? And he'll be like, fuck no, get out of my place. No,
when
seriously.
Me and Jalen went, he was our server the first time, and I'm like, I know this dude. I swear to God, he was on the Challenge, but I didn't say anything. So then after we left, I looked it up, and I was like, oh my God, that was him.
Now, I'm sure our listeners all know who Jalen is, but when you say me and Jalen, who's Jalen?
Sorry, that's our son.
Okay, I want to make sure people are following along. I don't want anybody confused on their way to listening to this epic, groundbreaking podcast.
I figured everyone listening was our friend, so they knew that.
Whoa. No, we got to assume there's people from all over the world listening right now.
Oh, that's true.
Okay, all right. So yeah, we talked about breakfast here, so let's just go through our day a little bit. So we're coming out of the breakfast place. So the first place we didn't go, it kind of reminded me of something. And I was like, oh my God, I got to write this down. There was this guy who decided that he just was too cool for school, which made me sound like I was 82 years old when I just said that. But he was like, really cool in his hot rod car and couldn't wait 2 seconds for us to pull out of our parking spot. So, he like screeched it, put pedal to the metal and blah, blah, blah.
Laid on the horn
And, all that stuff just to make himself look really cool. Anybody who does that, fuck you, for one thing.
Definitely fuck you.
Okay. And if you drive a muscle car and you're an asshole, I have nothing for you.
My son calls those toolboxes.
Toolboxes, all right. So we got toolboxes. Anyways, I was driving and, I just wanted to like, oh, man, I want to catch up with that guy. And I'm thinking like, why? Why am I going to catch up with this guy? What am I going to do exactly? And so we're pulling out of there and I'm like, oh, my God, there's what'd I call him?
I don't know. Probably there's the fucker who.
Oh, yeah, I was probably just like, I want to mess with fucker. And Brandy's like, oh, no, don't do that. So, anyways.
Let me preface this by saying I'm usually the one that flies off the handle, and you're the one calming me down.
That is true.
But this time, I'm like, this dude is the kind of guy that will probably chase us down and kill us.
Oh, okay.
So.
That is true. That's the new thing now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyways, so instead of, I was pretty tough, actually. I have really tinted windows. So I drove past the guy and pretty much just yelled, fuck you, as loud as I could inside the car, and then flipped him off under the dashboard. How many of you do this? I mean, seriously, when you're driving along, everybody, I think your attitude, your most of your attitude is while you're driving, right? And I just have to laugh at how many times, you've been like, oh my God, I'm going to go off on this guy. And then you flip him off under the dashboard or on your side or under the steering wheel. You just have to do it. You don't want anybody to really see it, but knowing that you actually did it makes you feel better. And I mean, kind of going into another subject, and I'll kind of go back and forth. I tend to not really swear all that often, and I almost have to make myself swear, on this podcast sometimes, because Meg swears a whole lot, and I don't want to be the prissy guy who doesn't swear. I mean, last week I was drinking like fucking iced tea, so I got to be somewhat cool. Anyways,
and eating hummus.
I ate hummus and iced tea last week. This week, I'm eating tacos and drinking lots of beers. So, good
You're
luck.
You're a manly man now.
Yeah, good luck getting that next week, Max, or I'm going to have hummus and iced tea again. So, anyways, going into the swearing thing, my wife swears like a sailor. She swears more than anybody I've ever met in my whole entire life. And so I kind of have to feel like I have to keep up with her every now and then. The only time I can really do that is when I'm driving. I am freaking... See, look at that.
Really?
I just said frickin'. I'm telling you how I have to swear it. I just said frickin'. So I am a complete and utter failure at this moment. Anyways, when I'm driving, I try to swear as much as possible in front of her to make her laugh. And it made me think about that, how many times I've done that to drivers, just talking out my ass about them. But they can't see me, so I'm not as tough as I want to be.
And it's not just the swearing, it's the combination of swear words to make up new names.
Oh, yeah.
For these people, that's really fucking funny.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I have to do. So anyways, my whole life revolves around, Volume 11 music and also making my wife laugh. And that's really all I got. That's all I got. That's okay. Moving on. Again, since Big Mex isn't here, and my wife is sitting across from me, we're going to talk about stuff that hopefully if you have a significant other at home, I think a lot of you do, if it's a girlfriend, boyfriend, wife, husband, illegal cousin, stuff like that, you kind of look to that person to give you positive reinforcement. My thing at my house is whenever I do anything, or I should say, let me back up. Let's put the brakes on that. Whenever I buy anything, so if I buy a new shirt, anything. So if I buy a new shirt, guess who I'm going to show that shirt to when I get home? My wife. Wouldn't you do that too? I mean, everybody listening right now, wouldn't you do that as well? I think you would. If I get anything, if I get a new pen, I will show my wife. Oh, check it out. What did I get? You know what? My wife could give a shit. Anything I show her, it doesn't matter what it is. She doesn't have no interest in it whatsoever. Now, if it was something that may benefit us, I think it might kind of be a different situation. She might say, oh, that's cool and everything. I mean, if I got a new TV, she'd probably be like, oh, that's pretty cool. But if, I just have this weird thing that anything I buy, I have to show her. Know why? You know why? Because I have nobody else to show it to. Who am I going to show it to? The neighbor?
But why do you have to show it to anybody? Like, I go shopping, I hang my clothes up in the closet. You don't see them until I wear them.
Yeah, but I have to show somebody or it didn't really happen.
Okay.
No, seriously. I mean, if I just get a new shirt and I put it in the closet, guess what? It's like I never bought it and there's $30 I can never get back. I got to feel special here. I need somebody to give me positive reinforcement. Does that mean I'm insecure? Would you say that's insecurity?
No, I don't think it's insecurity. I just think you're expecting way too much out of me.
That could also be the case. I think she just hit that right on the head. That's what she said. Anyways, I was hoping I could get a "that's what she said" into this conversation, and I just
course,
did.
yeah.
Yes. So moving on, because we're just moving, lightning quick right now. We were talking earlier about people that, Facebook friends. And, we all have Facebook friends. I think pretty much everybody here is on Facebook that's listening to this right now. Hopefully you are, because you probably learned about it from Facebook.
It always surprises me to find out somebody doesn't have a Facebook account. I'm like, what fucking world are you living in? Like, how do you not have a Facebook account?
Yeah. So, I mean, it took me a while to get Facebook, but regardless, we have people in our lives that we actually like those people. We do. We like them. They're our friends, but we don't want to hear from them on Facebook. So we block them. Or we don't block them. We follow them. So that way we never see what they're posting. The only time we can see what they're posting is when we actually look up their name and see it. How many of you have that? Do you have a lot of people like that on your friends list? Is Volume 11 Music one of those people? Who knows? It could be. But, I think a lot of us do that, and we laugh when we talk about the people that we unfollow, because then we 3 months in, we go, oh, you know what, I'm going to check out what they're talking about. And you're like, oh, my God. It's ridiculous shit, and I know Brandy wants to say some stuff right now, but she has to be careful, because anything she says now could reveal who she's talking about, and I don't want that to happen, because that person or people could be listening right now.
I was kind of focusing on the two loud hockey guys sitting at the bar that were chanting.
Oh, well, that's good. I mean, they're happy to be here. They're watching, I don't know what they're watching. I'm looking at the TV now. They're either watching horses, baseball, or motocross. But
they're wearing hockey jerseys.
But they're wearing hockey jerseys. They're confused. It's okay. I mean, we're the nerds here doing the podcast.
I'm not.
Yeah, you're not. You're doing the podcast and you're a nerd too, so get off it. Let's get back to something music related, because you're probably all like snoring right now. Wake up! Wake up! Okay, so anyways, I always ask my wife, how can you be a huge fan of bands like Slipknot and Upon a Burning Body, but also listen to R&B and top 40 radio like it's frickin' Christian Bible music?
Quit saying frickin'.
Frickin', frackin', fucking. She's really cool. She loves bands like Slipknot.
I love all kinds of music.
But every fucking time we're in the car, it's got to be like Whitney Houston and Mariah Carey and Neo and all this shit, and the hand starts going up like she's singing. It's ridiculous. Why can't we listen to songs by bands like Slipknot while we're in your car?
Because I listen to these bands when I'm at the gym, and I don't want to over-listen to them and get sick of them.
Oh,
I know. It's just how it is.
That was almost too simple of an answer. So now we have to make up with 5 minutes of silence.
Like at work, I listen to a lot of country because I don't listen to that at the gym. So that's just how it is. I just like all kinds of music. I like what I like.
Cue the crickets. We're just going to leave it right there. Mic drop. No, seriously. Talking about different radio stations and things like that. We're not going to talk about the actual station, but Mex may have worked for one of them. I don't know. Anyways, they just started doing a radio survey, something that they've never done before. There's only like 2 somewhat rock stations in Vegas now. And so this one station decided they're going to do a survey, that you have to take the survey online, listen to a bunch of songs, blah, 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 and you could possibly win $1,000. Now, anything I say here, if I win $1,000, I will go publicly on TV and say, I'm so sorry I said anything weird. But so hopefully I win $1,000. But anyways, this survey was the weirdest thing. They put you through it. They ask you, like, okay, if these bands were being played on this station, would you listen to it? Or if it's these bands, would you listen to it? And they didn't even play the music. They just asked about, these bands. Basically, what they were doing is they were taking the station as it is now and splitting it into 2 genres. I did my choice, blah, blah, blah. Then you go through 50 songs in each block and say if you like them or not. Pretty much every single song was off the playlist of this specific station. And everything that was, old school bands like Pink Floyd and things like that. And no offense to anybody, but I'm just tired of hearing Pink Floyd, AC/DC, Led Zeppelin, all that shit. I'm really tired of hearing that. I want to hear contemporary, newer bands, but there's nowhere to hear them in Vegas other than the other station that plays more of the modern rock stuff. What do you guys think about this? Again, I don't think anybody's going to answer me out loud right now, but I kind of have an issue with why you guys went and fired everybody from your station and then decided, oh shit, you know what? We're not really getting the ratings now, so we got to figure out what kind of music to play. I think you had a great local station, and now you don't. And that's because you brought in people from the outside. You kept a few of the locals near, and that's great. And we appreciate those people specifically. But you guys done fucked up by taking away the only true local station here in Vegas that's catered towards rock music. And that's kind of why we sprouted up out of the woodwork, Volume 11 Music, is to kind of fill that void to some extent. So anyways, yeah. Brand, you listen to a lot of radio, and mostly in the car, and I think predominantly it's going to be more of the top 40 radio. But have you noticed a difference in the rock stations, the 2 rock stations here in town? What do you think of them these days?
The one station you were just talking about, I've not listened since...
The Departure? The
Departure, yeah. And I never really cared for that station, but
yeah.
I listened because of our friend.
Yeah.
So, I don't listen to that one. The other one I listen to just for the morning show.
Gotcha.
Because I don't like the music that they play.
Yeah.
So that's why I listen to Top 40.
See, that kind of makes sense right there. But luckily, I supply her with so much cool rock music that she can barely stand it. We're going to talk about, I think, one more thing right now. That's tattoos. Tattoos, that's a part of rock. As far as I can remember, when I was a little kid, 12, 13 years old, when I started getting into the heaviest of rock with Poison and Warrant, I wanted tattoos, and I had to have tattoos. And everyone asked back then, why would you want a tattoo? Because nobody had tattoos. Well, now tattoos are pretty much the norm. I'm kind of wondering why, especially a place like Las Vegas, we have so many people who are anti-tattoo. I work in a place, which I won't name, that is a pretty family-oriented business, and they are still kind of in that place where tattoos are absolutely taboo. But they open businesses in Las Vegas, so it's kind of weird. You would do that but not understand that tattoos may be a part of that. I've noticed lately, I actually noticed this, and I think it's because I have so many tattoos, but I'll go places like Smith's where the cashier has a sleeve of tattoos. I think it's cool. I have no problem with it. I don't see anybody running out of there screaming that somebody has a sleeve of tattoos. You see places like Starbucks that's fully embracing tattoos and things of that sort.
I love that. I love going places and seeing people with their tattoos on display, or if they've got, piercings that aren't like crazy over the top, just, like maybe your nose pierced or your lip pierced or whatever. I like that.
I like going places where you can see people with their nipples pierced and their clits pierced. That's kind of my thing.
Well, yeah, that is your thing, but
I've only seen that twice at Smith's. But anyways, we'll talk about that next week. But yeah, I mean, I think it's just odd. I work in a place. I just said that I'm one of the very few people that have tattoos. And anytime, I've been there 7 years. Anytime that my tattoos show, people fucking flip out. And I'm just like, my answer is always like, you live in Las Vegas. Why would you live in Las Vegas if you're offended by tattoos? And I don't get it in this day and age how people can even be remotely offended by tattoos. It's a part of our culture. It's a big part of our culture these days. And
I mean, even when we moved here 7 years ago from Alaska, tattoos were not that prevalent. I mean, you didn't see it a whole lot. Every time I go back to visit, I just see people covered in tattoos, tons of piercings, and it's no big thing anymore.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think we all just need to take a deep breath and realize that that's a normal part of our culture now.
Yeah, who fucking cares? They're not bad people because they have tattoos and piercings.
Yeah, I mean, the way I see it is if you can have a concealed and carry license, you can have a fucking tattoo.
Seriously.
That's how I compare it. Anyways, that's about it for us. I think, I really want to thank everybody for listening to this strange, mysterious, weird Volume11.com No Need for a Name podcast episode.
You're just saying that because I'm here.
Well, the strange, mysterious thing is you. Oh. But, it's a little bit different. It's usually Big Mex and I. But I really want to thank my wife, Brandy, for stepping in and helping me out as I talked a lot this week. So I'm sorry for that.
I can't nerd out with him. So
it's okay. I nerded out all over the table and on the floor a little bit. But anyways, we're going to go out with a band. Again, I'm going to stall for a second because I just realized I'm not on my page. Anyways, this is a band called Hellbent. Hellbent's out of Atlanta. They've been around. Actually, they've been around. Their beginnings is 2005, They have an EP out right now called There Will Be Violence. These guys reached out to us on Volume 11's Facebook page, and we really appreciate that, and we actually would love for many bands to do this. This band, Hellbent, is really taken off. They're DIY. They're doing everything themselves. They're booking tours themselves. They're doing so much. And we really appreciate that. We love to see that. And we want to see them out here in Vegas. So, guys, if you're listening right now, let's get you out here in Vegas, get something together with Volume 11. This is a song called Number 15. I think you're going to dig it. You can find this on Bandcamp. You can find it linked up to their website and Facebook. I liken them to more of a groove metal sound, kind of that Pantera swagger that we might have heard a while back. I think you're really going to love it. Again, this is Jamie with volume11music.com. No Need for a Name podcast. This is episode 9. Thank you so much for listening.
Bye-bye.
Jamie here, volume11music.com. I am here with September from September Morning. Welcome to Vegas.
Thank you.
Awesome. So, a belated congratulations because you signed with Virgin.
Yeah,
year.
last year we signed with Virgin.
Is that still going, or what's the deal?
I mean, we're working. It's kind of a long story, convoluted, but we're working out some other options to do different things with different people at this time. So, but we've been working with them on a couple of other things too. So it's
You're not trapped though.
We're not trapped,
That's
which
good.
is very nice of them to not trap us. You
hear about so many bands. I mean, you look at like Porcelain Black, things like that.
Oh
where
yeah.
You have to go through label hell for years and years
yeah,
and years.
I'm not unfamiliar to being signed. I've been signed a couple of times before, so it's kind of like it's not your first time, it's not going to be your last time. You just kind of go through it and you try to push your project forward as much as you can.
Yeah, and it's almost like you don't actually need it as much these days, but you still it's
you
nice to have
still
that backing.
do.
Yeah.
You still do if you want to reach a broader audience,
International too.
Yeah, and international too. Yeah, so it's
Gotcha.
more like that.
So we're working on an album. Is the album
It's
in
done.
the can? It's done.
It's in the can.
Yeah.
There's a couple of things that we kind of like want to tweak, I think, at this point, sound wise, but it's mostly there. I mean, all the songs are there, and we like what we did, so it was cool working with Howard Benson.
Was it a cool experience?
Yeah, he's cool. Like, Howard's great, Yes. Howard is very particular of how Howard is. So, I suppose you could say that about every producer. But he was fun to work with in the studio. He was open to ideas, and yeah, he's a great dude.
Did you do any collaborations on this album with anybody?
Yeah, actually, I collaborated with a bunch of people on this album.
Anybody you can name?
Sahaj Chikitan from the band Raw. I don't know if you know
I
that
do.
band, but
I do.
I'm a huge fan of them and huge fan of Sahaj. He's great. He's actually written with me for years now, and and we're good writing partners. So he was very fundamental in this album, and Steve Lukather's son.
Oh, really?
I wrote a song with him. Yeah,
That's cool.
actually, I wrote 2 songs with him. Yeah, and a writing partner of his, The Matrix, who wrote a bunch of songs on Korn's albums, and like a bunch of different people. So I wrote with them. There's a couple of people that I collaborated with on
awesome.
it. It was fun.
Sounds fun. When are we going to hear it?
Oh yeah. Well,
When do you think we're gonna hear it?
we released Children of Fate via Loudwire, and just to like tease people, and then we're working on the comic book angle too to kind of like segue everything together. So that's like been the biggest kind of I don't know, like pitfall of this whole thing is just to tie everything together so that we can actually make it this really cool transmedia project, which we're trying to do.
Right.
So we're waiting a little bit, but this summer you should be able to hear some music.
Awesome.
Yeah, for sure.
That was actually kind of you answered the next question somehow. That's really where I was going, because I was asking about if there's going to be a graphic novel tying it together.
Yeah.
Because it's such a media project.
Yeah.
It probably is kind of like, okay, can we get everything put together at the same time?
Yeah,
It's
hard. It's hard to do that, like everybody's on their own schedules and trying to like make everybody work together. It's kind of hard sometimes. But yeah.
And are you working with Mark Silvestri again?
Yeah.
So
I'm
that's
working
gonna,
with Mark on that.
He's going to do everything for that.
He's
novel?
working with me. He's kind of overseeing it at this point, and then I'm working with 3 other ladies. I basically came up with the story and the concept with Mark, and like we pretty much outlined it. And then there's this Mariah Uner, who's a great writer, who's going to be writing on it, and there's a comic book artist, Sima Ye, who's from overseas, and she's doing the comic book art. I don't know if you know anything about comic books, but
A little bit. Not
do you know
enough.
Rise of the Magi?
I've heard of it, yes.
Okay, so she did all the art for Rise of the Magi, and Mark did the covers and parts of the art as well.
Okay.
So she's a favorite of Mark's, so he wanted her to kind of help do this.
And you like what she
She's
does?
oh yeah, she's
Yeah.
rad.
Well, I guess
yeah.
you kind of have to, but that's
yeah, no,
nice.
she's rad. I love her. Like she was like, "What about using her?" And I was like, "Oh, please, she's awesome." Yeah.
Are you artistic in that way?
I love to draw. I don't draw very well, but
Yeah.
I love to draw. I mostly paint and do charcoals and things like that.
Gotcha. Alrighty. I know, it's actually
like
kind of cold.
freaking cold. Yeah.
So here's kind of a long-winded question. Few artists inspire like September Morning, allowing your children of fate a positive environment to express themselves.
Yeah.
Who or what inspires you?
Oh, well, I mean, there's a lot of different people that have inspired me. I mean, it's hard to like pinpoint a music artist and just say that person inspired me, because I'm just so inspired by different types of music, all different types of music, and also like artists, like even performance artists on the Lower East Side of Manhattan have inspired me, and you know, like and regular like art artists like Caravaggio, and like, you know, painters and things like that, just for our lighting design. And you know, the performance wear that we wear on stage is very inspired by Japanese like martial arts, and
I've noticed that. Yeah.
you know, so there's a lot of that. The painting on my face is very Japanese, like martial arts sort of stuff. And I mean, the bandages on my arms are Japanese arm bandages. So it's, you know, I mean, there's a lot of like different cultural, you know, inspiration.
And you stuck to it too, because I mean, I saw you at Rock Vegas.
Oh,
when
yeah.
You played there in
Yeah.
2012, I guess
Yeah,
it would have been.
that's
And
2012,
you know, you stuck with the visual has not stayed the same, but you kept with
we're
it.
developing
A lot of bands,
it. Yeah.
A lot of bands, they drop it, they get tired of it. That's so much a part of your
Well,
vision.
it's kind of like I have to. The whole thing started from a comic book character and the story. So if I, you know, deviate from that, it's not September
It's not
Morning.
the same.
I might as well just go start a different band and call
Yeah.
it something else.
That's what I
because
figured.
this is what this is. And so, yeah.
It's all one big picture.
Yeah, exactly.
So here's that question I was telling you about
Okay,
before we started.
yeah.
So what is Emily's favorite part of portraying September? You've kind of talked
Yeah.
before that you portray
Yeah.
September.
It's like
you
being
know,
an actor on
Yeah,
stage,
which I
you
think
know?
is really cool, because a lot of
Thanks.
artists, they don't say that. You know,
Yeah,
they kind of
yeah.
act like that's not the case.
Yeah.
Well,
I think for
what's your
me,
favorite?
it's not kind of like a Marilyn Manson thing where it was Marilyn Manson. I mean, that's just his personality.
Right.
Like for me, it's like I wrote a story and I created a character, and I'm portraying that character on stage. So like, there's a lot of September within me, and of course I wrote her based around things that have happened to me and like
Right.
feelings, and like, you know, there's a lot of her on stage that is me. But you know, I think in today's day and age, people can like, you know, see that, you know, you're not going to be this person all the time.
Right.
Especially a reaper, because I don't go around sucking people's
Oh, you
souls out.
don't? Let's end this interview
Spoiler
right now.
alert! Well, maybe I do, but like
It is different though, you know, that
yeah,
mystery,
you know.
that mystery's kind of, I
Yeah.
don't want to say gone, but people are a little bit more
yeah.
involved in their
Yeah.
idol's life, I guess you could say.
Yeah, well, it's a social media thing, because the social media has changed the way people are like with everything in life right now.
Yeah.
Like you can't. It's very hard to be a Marilyn Manson anymore. Or like even Marilyn Manson doesn't look like Marilyn Manson when he's
Right.
out, you know, shopping, and like people have taken pictures of him and he
Yeah.
looks like Brian Warner, like,
Yeah.
you know.
Yep.
So it's like, you know, and when that goes viral, like if that had happened back in the day, like people would have been like, oh, you know,
Well,
but
they
like
all thought he was
because
Paul
it-
from the Wonder Years at that time.
yeah,
so.
exactly. So, exactly. So like, you know, it's kind of that whole thing. So, you know, we've kind of embraced the social media change, and I represent her online. I represent her, you know, I tend to focus the energy towards her online and in social media and on stage and everything like that. And then my personal life is my personal life, you know, and that's what it is.
That's good.
You know,
So there's no downside that you can really think of?
I can't think of a downside. I think it's cool.
That's
I like
good.
it.
That's good.
That's
hoping
why I
you
do
wouldn't have a
it.
downside. So, you know, that kind of being said, what is your take on some of the bands that have cropped up? And this isn't
Yeah.
to say like, oh, I don't like these bands because they kind of
Yeah.
copied our style, but what is your
Yeah.
take on some of the bands that have adopted your style? Maybe like a New Year's Day,
Yeah.
or the main culprit,
Yeah.
not say the name, but
yeah,
you
yeah.
like that.
Who will remain? Those who will remain nameless.
Yes, I think we
I
know,
mean,
but
it's
is it flattering?
It's flattering in a way, but it's also kind of like, I feel like the audience is being a little deceived, because I like when I created this band, like I don't, as I do portray September, like I'm a goth child. Like, you know, I grew up in that culture.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing about me that says I was a cheerleader in high school. Like, you will not dig through my like personal life and find that.
Right.
I was a ballerina, but I was always like dark and gloomy
You're a
and
goth
weird.
ballerina,
You
yeah.
know, I was like the crazy gothy chick. And that's always kind of how I've been. And you know, I've always been either that or like totally like left field, like crazy, like drag queen looking girl.
Yeah.
I always wear these eyelashes.
Well, yeah,
and
when you
things
see
like
your
that.
pictures
It's
online
just-
from
yeah.
a while back, you
Yeah,
still look the same.
I'm still the same chick. So there's a connection of what I do and who I am. And I feel like when I look at bands like those who will remain nameless, I see that they started one way, and then because they knew that the theatrical element would make them sell more, they became theatrical. And that, I want to punch people like that in the face. And if I ever meet those people, I might just do that. But, you know, it's just like, to me, that's just selling out.
Yeah.
Like, and like, a lot of people have told me, they're like, you have a great voice, and like, why don't you just dress normally and like go on stage? And I'm like, because that's not what I do. Like, that's not who I am, and that's not who I ever will be. If you want that, go see Katy Perry, you know? So, you know, that's kind of where I stand on that. I mean, I'm glad the theatrical elements are working for those bands, and they totally are.
Yeah.
But it makes me sad because it's like, I wish, you know, my stuff had come together sooner so that I could have been like like I could have owned it more.
I know.
But it's okay because, you know, 5 years into it, we're still doing it, and like
those people will shift into something else.
they're gonna morph into something that sells. Like, if you look at their music, all of their music has morphed into something that is saleable now. You know, it's not like they start with a core and build upon it. Like, you've seen my pictures from this beginning of this. I used to make my own costumes. Now I have a costume. Like, it's like everything has grown
Well, that's
into
why I
what
brought
it's
that up,
become.
'cause you've kept with
It's true. It's like it's being truthful to your audience and being like, this is who I am unapologetically. And like, if you
Take
don't
it
like
away.
it, go fuck yourself, you know? But if you like it, great. Join the world of Mortem and come with us and come on this journey and be a child of fate and like be crazy and like do crazy things with us.
Well, that's why you still do it.
Yeah.
Because you're still having fun doing it.
I'm still having fun doing it, and I found, you know, 4 or 5 guys that like love doing it with me, and you know, and a manager that thinks it's awesome, and Mark Silvestri who thinks it's awesome, and like Cryptozoic Entertainment who we're developing stuff with, like who thinks it's awesome, and I think those people can see the genuine side of it, and that's
think-
why they want to be a part of it.
Yeah,
is
from the
because it's
outside you
genuine.
can see, even people I think who are fans of some of the other groups that we're kind of talking about, they know
Yeah.
it. It's
Oh,
like they
yeah.
actually know it. So that's,
I mean, I
that's
think
the
the
sad part.
kids, the young kids,
Probably
probably
they're
don't
catering
know,
towards, so.
and that's who they want to get on
Yeah.
board. But I think the people that really listen to music and have seen them grow and look like Paramore 1 minute and then you know change the next, so that they can tour with a band.
Yeah.
So it's just, you know, but that's like, God bless them. I hope they do great, you know, and
But you hope
wonderful.
But you hope you do too.
But
you know what I mean?
but I hope that our stuff develops and becomes what it needs
Yeah.
to be, because it's like really important.
Yes, it is. So, switch gears real quick.
Yeah.
For almost a final question for you. Wizard Con's in town.
Oh,
in
I
Vegas.
know.
Are you going?
Trust me. Like, I wanted to get, like, I was trying so hard to get us on the road yesterday so that
So
we
you
could
be
go.
there.
And I was like, damn it. Like,
know.
you know, we were stuck getting everything together, and then, so we're going to miss it. But we're playing Atlantic City Comic Con
Oh,
on the
cool.
East Coast
Ah.
with another band.
That would be
and
cooler
it's just,
there.
It's going to
This
be.
is pretty small scale, the one they have here.
I don't care. I just love cons.
Yeah.
They're so much fun.
I've never
and
been, so
if you've never been to a Comic
want
Con,
to.
you have to go. Like,
Everyone's
it's
been
like
saying
it's
that.
a rite of passage.
Yeah.
Like, it's so funny because I've been going to cons for, I don't know, probably like 6 years now,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like, I'm like, God, why didn't I go sooner? Like, this is
When
so
they were
fun.
smaller, too.
Yeah, and when
Yeah.
they were smaller, and it's not so like crazy in Hollywood like it is now. Now everybody wants to go to
Oh,
the
I
con,
know.
you know,
Every
and they make
show,
their
every
outfits
movie.
for it. You know, it's like
See,
taking
yeah.
selfies, and it's just like because it's popular. And we used to go because we thought we were nerds,
Well, that was your
and we
crowd.
still are
That's
nerds.
my crowd. Trust me.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we're still nerds.
Yeah.
I still buy comic books.
Oh, me
I
too.
still like play video games.
Mhm.
I still, you know, and like I always will probably, and like. You know, it's nerdcore culture.
Oh
you
yeah,
know,
we
so.
this will be on a podcast that we have.
Yeah.
And with Volume 11, and that's all we talk
Yeah.
about. It's all nerd stuff.
Yeah,
That's all it really
I think
is.
that's
Music
awesome.
and nerd stuff. So.
Yeah, so you know,
Cool.
but well, you'll like it. We made these pop, you know, the pop dolls.
Mhm.
Okay, so my guitarist Wraith, his wife in the mortal realm made these pop dolls, collectible dolls.
Oh, really?
Each of one of us.
Oh,
and
that's cool.
you can buy them from us at the merch booth, and
very cool.
we're going to sell them online and stuff like that. But they're really badass, and we're showing them to Pop in Atlantic City Comic Con.
Really?
So we're
Oh,
excited
that's very
about
cool.
that. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you're excited about this. I'm excited
Yeah.
to see you. It's been a long time.
Thanks for coming out, and I
Thank
really
you.
appreciate it.
Thank you so much. This is Jamie with Volume 11 Music,
Yeah.
and I'm talking to September from September Morning. I just want to thank her.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks.
Awesome. Thanks.